Hey, y'all need a break. Listen to these stories from r/AskReddit. What survival myth is completely wrong and can get you killed? Running in a zigzag to outrun an alligator. Alligators don't run for long distances, so this will probably just waste your energy. They can also climb some fences and trees as well. Just run straight. No question, just book it. The alligator will eventually decide it's had enough. They're also unlikely to attack you on land. At least if they want to eat you. They will defend their territory, but they don't hunt on land, they're ambush predators. If you're in a tornado, open all your windows to equalize the pressure inside to match the outside. If you're in a tornado, opening any window or door will create a wind tunnel that rips your entire roof off. If I recall correctly, it doesn't matter anyway, you waste time doing that when you need to get to the lowest part of a building or the innermost room. Cracks and small openings take care of air pressure as buildings aren't airtight. Overpasses are not safe places to shelter. In fact, they're more dangerous. They create wind tunnels. Average lead time for tornado warnings in the US is 9 minutes, but people still don't take them seriously. The most common refrain I've read from people who survived the Joplin tornado is that they didn't take the warning seriously. Even with a tornado watch, they didn't pay attention to the weather. Punching the biggest guy in prison. No, what you want to do is walk up and kiss him on the lips. Assert dominance. That bullcrap, change your voicemail if you are lost, PSA that was making the rounds over the last year. You need a cell signal to change your voicemail. If you have a signal, then why wouldn't you just call for help? Moreover, it misses the most important thing about US cell phones and being lost. 911 will work on any cell tower regardless if it's in network or even if you have an active phone plan or not. So in an emergency, always try dialing 911 regardless of your phone appears to have signal or not. US cell phones and being lost. 911 will work on any cell tower. This also works in Europe and most likely a lot more countries. Just make sure you know the local emergency number. Emergency calls are top priority. If a cell tower is at capacity and your phone pings for an emergency call, the tower will drop other phones to make your call come through. As always, emergency calls are always free. That moss grows on the north side of a tree. It can grow all over the tree, so it's not a steadfast rule that you should make important decisions solely on. I grew up in the rainy Pacific Northwest, and when I heard this as a little kid, I looked at all the moss on every side of the trees and thought that I must just live in the most north place, lol. If a shark is coming after you, swim away. If a shark is coming towards you in the first place, it's most likely just curious and wants to check you out. Swimming away and thrashing about will further intrigue it to keep following you. Instead, redirect it by running your hand along its side and carefully positioning it to swim away from you. Side note, if one happens to bite you, poke/stab it in the eyes or pull on its gills instead of bopping it in the nose. Gills and eyes are far more sensitive than a shark's nose. Edit, loads of replies about how punching underwater is practically impossible, and you'd be 100% right. Fixed. Follow flying birds to find water. They can simply be flying to spend a night anywhere, so we can't rely on them. You can follow flying birds to land if you're lost on open water though, according to my Pacific Ocean elders. Edit, specifically in evening. Doesn't work for owls. Almost anything related to avalanches. Here are a few popular and false myths. That they strike at random. Most avalanches that injure or kill people are caused by those people, and they always show signs of instability, if you are paying attention. The problem is that there are lots of false positives where the signs are there, the instability is there, but people just don't quite manage to trigger them. That you should be quiet to be safe from avalanches, because they are caused by sound. Sound does not trigger avalanches. Even very loud sounds are nowhere near enough. Avalanche control is done with howitzers and dynamite charges. That you can get out of the way. Well, sure, of course sometimes it's possible, but they can travel up to 60 miles per hour, and they can let loose across an entire slope all at once. By the time it slides, you are likely in it, and it's inescapable. That you can save yourself by swimming. Maybe for very small ones, but usually you're just being thrashed. I've heard it compared to being in a side-loading washing machine. That you can spit to tell which direction is up. You won't be able to see anything useful, and, gravity still works. But it's irrelevant because that relies on the next myth. That you can dig yourself out. Even if you are inches below the surface, it's very unlikely. The snow sets up very hard, very fast, as though you got caught up in a snowplow clearing a parking lot after a big snowstorm. People caught in avalanches report not being able to move their fingers. Along with that, are all the normal problems people have with low probability, high consequence risks, the "it won't happen to me" stuff, but that's not so much an issue of myths as poor judgment due to things like familiarity with a slope, desire to be accepted by a social group by skiing that rad backcountry line, feeling committed because you came all this way, deferring to someone you perceive as an expert, desire to get the first tracks after a storm, social proof, where you see others doing it, so it must be safe, etc. Concerning frostbite, do not rub someone's frostbitten skin or pour hot water on it to warm them up. Such measures will damage the skin even more severely. The fastest and safest method for warming up someone is direct animal heat, that is letting them put their frosty skin next to yours. Hey, if you can keep your digits by putting a cold hand on my belly, be my guest. If you're in a hot area, don't ration your water, drink when you feel thirsty and search for more water. Ration sweat, not water. Thank you U.S. Air Force Survival School. Edit. While this blew up LOL. At Survival Evasion Resistance and Escape School, they teach you to find shade and try to do as little as possible during the hotter times of the day. If you have to move, you do so when it cools off. Rationing your water doesn't help you, it will only dehydrate you and impair your judgment. Your brain needs water. Depriving yourself of proper hydration is the best way to unintentionally kill yourself. Drinking alcohol when you are freezing will keep you warm, it won't, it will bring on hypothermia much sooner. Agreed, but you will feel warmer, so if you're going to die anyway, it may be a better way to go out. Pulling out something that is impaling you. The rule is, if it's in, keep it in, if it's out, keep it out. Until you can get help. Just because water looks clean doesn't mean it is. You've got to boil it or distill it to actually have clean water. Or carry a modern filter like a Life Straw or Sawyer if you think there's even a remote chance you're going to be stranded with no potable water. I'll also add that drinking dirty water is always a better option than going without water. If you are dehydrated but don't have a way to sanitize your water, drink the water anyway. There's a chance it will make you sick or maybe even kill you in very rare cases, but dehydration will always kill you. One thing to note about the Life Straw is that it doesn't actually offer full microbial/viral protection. I have one in my hiking/camping/survival bag, but I also carry water treatment drops. It's a good idea to use both at once. The straw for the particulate, and the drops to kill any microorganisms and destroy viral cells. The desert is hot and little clothing is best. Cover up during both the day and the night. The sun will burn you and dehydrate you very quickly. During the night it's really common for people to die of hypothermia because the temperature drops so fast. And honestly, living here, during the winter it gets to the low 20s pretty often. And the wind is awful. Edit to add, it's dry heat here. There's no moisture in the air majority of the year. You can drop dead from heat stroke barely sweating. You can drink water from a cactus. Any liquid inside a cactus will be highly acidic and likely to cause nausea and diarrhea, further dehydrating you. The notable exceptions to this rule are the prickly pear and one species of barrel cactus, the fishhook barrel, Pherocactus wilizini. While both of these plants are fairly unpleasant to eat raw, they have less concentrated levels of the detrimental chemicals and could give you a bit of hydration in a pinch. That you'll be totally safe if you only eat plants and fungi you recognize. Hemlock looks a lot like wild parsnips. Basically all wild almonds will kill you if you eat more than one. And of course there's the Chrismacandless, potato seed, thing. Wait, what? Wild almonds will kill you. And what is this potato seed thing you speak of? Wild almonds have a whole bunch of cyanide in them, so having even a handful could kill you. Regular almonds also contain trace amounts cyanide but not nearly enough to kill you. Fun fact, apple seeds also have cyanide in them. If your plane is crashing, an inflatable raft makes a terrible parachute. And yet, I'd still grab the raft if my options are raft or nothing. At least that way I'll die a captain. Way to look on the bright side. Make sure to christen your raft on the way down, so it's official. You cannot eat everything that an animal can eat. There are things animals can eat that humans find toxic, so eating everything you see animals eating can lead to you potentially eating deadly berries or mushrooms. Lightning never strikes twice in the same place. If lightning has found a path that it likes to the ground, it's extremely likely to strike there multiple times. That's why lightning rods work. That used to be the first part of a joke when I first heard it in the 70s or 80s. The second part, when you ask why, is because the same place isn't there twice. Yuck yuck. Somehow over the years the first part took on a life of its own and became a wrong fact. Most of the stuff Bear Grylls does. Like eating raw meat, picking and eating fruit out of bear crap, or squeezing the juice out of elephant crap and drinking it. Or even just running as fast as you can, and sliding down embankments like he does. My favorite Bear Grylls navigation moment was when he decided he didn't want to try to get over a mountain pass, and noticed a cave, then figured it would certainly go through the mountain, and went in with a makeshift torch, swam through a fully submerged channel extinguishing his torch, and then made it through to the other side. The best thing you can learn from Grylls is that most situations are survivable, as long as you have a decently supplied film crew on hand. You can survive a moose attack. That's it, that's the myth, because no you effing can't. A lot of people just think of moose as deer with different horns that are marginally bigger. In reality, moose are manic leviathans and will absolute F your crap up. During the mating season, they'll charge at trains on the tracks. Moose are modern megafauna. I don't know why people don't get that. Also, if you're going to drive into a moose in the road, risk driving off the road into a tree or something. You're more likely to survive that than hitting a moose. That you can give somebody CPR and they'll be fine moments later like nothing happened. Medic. Can confirm. Most likely, they will die. Edited to add, a lot of people are commenting that someone is already dead if we're doing CPR. But that depends on your definition of dead. The line is blurred more and more. Not every cardiac arrest has no rhythm. Some have one, but they're not useful for pumping blood. Some have none at all. Is brain death dead? Then no, not all cardiac arrests are dead. Is it when the heart ceases to beat effectively? Then yes, they all are. Survival rate with a defibrillator is about 25% according to my first aid trainer. Mine told me 5% survival rate CPR only, and up to 70% with CPR straight away and defibrillator in the first 3 minutes of the medical event, dropping dramatically after that time frame. In this ideal situation, CPR is also continued until the moment the defib tells you to stand clear, which surprised me, meaning you need at least 2 people, and super ideally, you've already know the correct procedure off by heart, so you've also skipped waiting for the defib instructions to be spoken aloud and jumped right up to the shock analysis in order to save time. Most people instinctively stop performing CPR and back off in order to follow the defib instructions. Obviously, it's not often that in an emergency situation, there's effective CPR administered immediately and a defib located, transported to patient, clothes removed, defib set up and shock administered, or ambulance arriving to do the same thing, within 3 minutes. The point they were trying to make was a positive one about how the defib saves lives, but all I could hear was, if you live alone or anywhere that isn't the center of city where public defibs are common and people tend to know first aid, you're dead. Myth: the rubber tires on a vehicle will insulate you from ground and protect you from lightning. Lightning doesn't stop for 2 inches of rubber, though the car will act like a Faraday cage and protect you from the electrical current unless you're in a convertible, a motorbike or any other vehicle that doesn't cover you in all directions. Also, don't lay down on the ground during a thunderstorm. You increase the risk of being shocked by a ground current, which can be pretty dangerous. Another thing, don't take shelter under a tree or a gazebo, they can explode or light on fire when struck. Stay still and do not yell out if approached by an aggressive dog. That advice could get you killed. This is a hard one, because with dogs that are aggressive but not intent on attacking you, that might work. But with a dog intent on attacking you, running might get you to safety and yelling for help might be the only thing that actually brings you help. Once a dog has your arm or leg in its mouth, the bone-crushing pain might take away your ability to yell or scream or get away. If you can, put anything you have between yourself and the dog, an umbrella, a backpack, a jacket. Don't try to pull yourself away from the dog. If it bites you and hangs on, you'll only cause worse injuries. The dog is trying to bite away a chunk of your flesh and come back for more, so don't help it do that. If the dog won't let go, ask someone brave enough to place a dog lead or belt around the dog's neck, and then use enough pressure to restrict the dog's breathing. Once the dog releases its jaws, get yourself away from the dog, if you are physically able. Nothing else will stop some dogs from mauling, and this advice might save a life one day. Anyone else read these comments with intrigue, imagining yourself in said situation, only to remember you haven't left the house in a long time and likely will never find yourself in these scenarios? 'Cause that's me. Survival tip number 1, avoid the situation. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments.